You have the baby in your arms. It is 3 in the morning. He is crying, and you do not know why. You have fed him. You have changed him. You have rocked him for 40 minutes. But he keeps crying. And at that moment, a thought crosses your mind. How did they do it before? Without hospitals, without baby formula, without thermometers, without pediatricians, without Google, just darkness, cold, and a human baby. The most vulnerable of all newborns in the animal kingdom. A foal can walk hours after being born. A wild boar piglet can run after a few days. A human baby can do nothing, cannot hold on, cannot regulate its temperature, cannot find food. For 300,000 years, humans kept their children alive anyway. The question is, how? 12 years ago, researchers analyzed the remains of 150 babies from Paleolithic sites in Europe and Africa. What they found left them in silence. Most were no more than 2 years old when they died. The causes were simple. Infection, cold, dehydration, a fall. Things we resolve today in an afternoon. But they also found something unexpected. Many of those babies had signs of care. Old fractures that had healed. Bones of children with congenital malformations who had survived for years. That does not happen on its own. Someone held them. Someone fed them. Someone did not abandon them. In that world, raising a child was a collective effort, or it was nothing. The mother alone at home with the baby did not exist. The father who arrives at night did not exist. The nuclear family of 4 people in an apartment did not exist. The group existed. Always the group. And that group had rules to keep the little ones alive. Rules that no book has written. Rules that we still carry inside. In 2009, the anthropologist Sarah Blaffer Hrdy published Mothers and Others, a work that changed the way we understand human childhood. Her argument was radical. We humans cannot raise children alone. Biologically, we are not designed for that. Hrdy documented something they call cooperative breeding or alloparenting. In the Paleolithic world, the mother was not the only one responsible for the baby. Grandmothers, aunts, older sisters, even men of the group participated actively in the care of the children. This was not generosity. It was survival. A human baby requires a disproportionate amount of energy. The brain of a newborn consumes 60% of all the glucose in the body. It needs breast milk every 2 or 3 hours for 2 or 3 years. No mother can do that alone and also look for food, build shelter, and not die. Hrdy found evidence that the presence of a grandmother in the group significantly increased the infant survival rate. Not a little, significantly. That gave rise to the so-called grandmother hypothesis, developed by the anthropologist Kristen Hawkes of the University of Utah in the 90s. Hawkes observed the Hadza, one of the last hunter-gatherer peoples of Tanzania, and saw something surprising. The grandmothers spent more time looking for food for the grandchildren than the mothers themselves. They were the silent providers who kept the group alive while the mother breastfed the next baby. But it was not just the grandmother. James McKenna, a researcher at the University of Notre Dame, spent decades studying maternal infant sleep. His conclusion: during almost all of human history, babies slept in direct contact with the body of an adult, not in a crib, not in another room. Body heat was the incubator. Synchronized breathing was the heart monitor. Constant contact was the emergency alarm. It was not a whim. It was survival technology. And this is where it starts to get dark. Because keeping a baby alive in the Paleolithic was not just a matter of love and collective care. It was also a matter of impossible decisions. Anthropologists have documented something that few dare to name directly. In hunter-gatherer societies, infanticide existed not as cruelty, but as a survival calculation. When the group did not have enough resources, when the mother was already breastfeeding another child, when the baby was born with a malformation that made its integration into the group impossible, when the birth occurred too soon after the previous one. The interval between births in the Paleolithic was 3 to 4 years, not by choice, because they could not sustain two completely dependent babies at the same time. The researcher Lawrence Keeley, in his book War Before Civilization, estimated that in some Paleolithic societies, the infanticide rate could reach 15 or 20% of all births. Other researchers debate that figure, but no one debates what occurred, and it did not end there. The children who survived the first year faced another brutal filter: weaning. In the modern world, weaning is a smooth, progressive process full of transitional foods. In the Paleolithic, it was a physiological crisis. The moment the baby stopped receiving the immunological protection of breast milk was the moment of greatest vulnerability. Archaeological isotope studies on infant bones, such as those conducted by C.N. Halcrow of the University of Otago, show signs of acute nutritional stress in the weaning period. The body registered it. It remained engraved in the bone forever. Surviving childhood in the Paleolithic was not the starting point. It was the achievement. And now think about this. That survival system, the group, the grandmother, the constant contact, cooperative breeding, is engraved in your biology. Your baby cries when you separate him, not because he is spoiled, because for 300,000 years being separated from the group at night meant dying. You feel anxiety when your child is sick and you can do nothing. It is not an exaggeration. It is the alert system that saved the lives of hundreds of generations before you. Do you look for your mother when you are exhausted? Do you look for your sister? Do you look for someone? It is not weakness. It is the cooperative programming activating, and when you are alone with a baby at home, without help, without a group, without a grandmother nearby, that feeling that something is wrong is not modern neurosis. It is your body telling you that it was not like this. It was not supposed to be like this. During almost all of human history, no one raised children alone. No one. Parental loneliness is a recent invention, a consequence of urbanization, of labor mobility, of individual apartments and nuclear families. We have spent perhaps 200 years raising children like this, and 100,000 years doing it in a group. Science confirms it. Skin-to-skin contact in the newborn regulates its temperature better than any incubator in healthy babies. Prolonged breastfeeding reduces infant mortality more than any supplement. The presence of support figures reduces the risk of postpartum depression. It is not folklore. It is ancestral biology. It still works. But there is something bigger here. Something that goes beyond babies and groups and grandmothers. Because when you study how ancestral humans kept their children alive, you realize something disturbing. We have not improved as much as we think. Yes, today's babies survive things that would have been death sentences 10,000 years ago. An ear infection, a premature birth, a fever of 40 degrees. Modern medicine has saved millions of lives that were previously lost in the first months. That is real. That matters. But we have paid a price that almost no one names. We have gained medical technology, and we have lost the human network that throughout all our history was the true medicine. The group that watched over the sick baby. The grandmother who brought food when the mother could not get up. The women of the camp who took turns carrying the crying child all night. That network was survival infrastructure, and we have dismantled it piece by piece. Today, in many cities around the world, a mother can spend the first 3 months of her child's life without seeing another adult person for more than 1 hour a day. That is unprecedented in our history. As a species, it had never happened in any culture, in any period. Modern parental isolation is not a lifestyle choice. It is an experiment without historical precedents carried out on the most vulnerable beings of the species, and no one put it on a ballot. No one voted for it. It simply happened with progress. with mobility, with modernity. We call that independence. Our ancestors would have called it something else. They would have seen that mother alone in her apartment, with her crying baby and her exhausted body. And they would have understood immediately that something was missing. Not technology. People, just people around for 300,000 years. No human baby was raised alone. None. Every child who survived because someone else was there. A grandmother who found food. An uncle who carried the child while the mother slept. A sister who did not leave. A group that did not abandon them. Today we have hospitals. We have vaccines. We have baby monitors with cameras and temperature sensors. And even so, postpartum depression affects 1 in 5 mothers in the world. Not because we are weaker, because we are doing alone something that was never designed to be done alone. Your body knows how to raise a child. It carries that information engraved for millennia. What it does not know is how to do it without anyone. That was not in the manual. Because during almost our entire existence, it was never necessary to write it. The group was there. It was always there, and a part of you still looks for it. Every time you are exhausted and you look at the phone, every time you wish that someone would simply arrive and tell you that you are doing well. That is not insecurity. It is ancestral memory. Your body remembers what was and knows what is missing.